While the band played on, Miss San Mateo County handed out balloons. Workers were still getting half the 132 stores ready to open, and customers lined up for freebie Frisbees. But the main attraction was the new Bullock store, or rather its roof. It looks different, to say the least.
Like a tent.
How do you like it?
It's very nice. I love it. I like your mountain, you know.
How do you like it?
Oh, I love it. It's beautiful.
Circus tent.
Do you like it?
Well, I'm not sure. I think it looks unfinished, to be honest.
The roof is Teflon-coated plexiglass. Its designers say it won't burn, it will last 30 years, and it's strong enough to drive a truck on, though no one tried. And it's energy efficient.
You save, in the daytime, all of the energy costs on lighting. That also saves on air conditioning because you're not producing heat that is created by lights normally in a store.
The roof design was tested first on a smaller scale on another building. Designers say they like what it does, and so will customers.
They see the feeling of the roof as a sky, for example. The natural light is very, very clear and clean, so the colors of the fabrics and materials you really see. You don't have to take the suit outside the way you normally do.
So the new shopping center opened with promotional gimmicks and even sales, all designed to get the customer's attention, just in case the building itself doesn't. Bert Hawkins in Foster City for the 10 o'clock news.
"25 minutes after the hour. Now we would like to consider one of the oldest, simplest, most portable shelters ever invented. We speak of the humble tent. In San Mateo, California, the tent is making a big comeback in a most unusual way. Here's Barry Peterson.
No, it is not the circus come to town, and no, it is not home to a group of desert nomads. It is, in fact, a department store about to open, and yes, it's built under a tent, an effort to use the sun to provide a lot of light and to save a lot of energy. A 70,000 square foot area has been covered with the tightly stretched fiberglass fabric. During the day, no lights are needed. That saves electricity. And no hot light bulbs generating unneeded heat cuts air conditioning needs. The roof cost as much as a conventional one to build, but will cut electric bills in half. Store executive Paul Heydrich jumped on the idea of a big top with big savings and found one advantage only a Californian would love.
There's far less weight on this roof than in a regular roof, and in an earthquake with that kind of movement, one of the problems you have is having a lot of weight in the air, and this makes it a much more structurally, seismically sound kind of building.
The company experimented with a much smaller roof on a nearby store, and after 3 years found the only pitfall was the need for an occasional shampoo. Developers have used tent roofs over stadiums and even a Saudi Arabian airport terminal. The fabric should last for decades, and it could be just the thing for a building used only during daylight, or should we say sunlight, hours. Barry Peterson, CBS News, San Mateo, California. Any stadium in the world, everybody in the stadium has a card, and they have just displayed them to represent the flags of all of the nations that are represented here in the Olympiad. Everybody. They came to the stadium. They didn't know the cards were under their seats. They've just been asked to look under their seats and hold them up, and that is the result. Clearly one of the things we shall remember, that we shall have to think of for years. They took photographs of this stadium from way, way up in the sky. They programmed it on computers, and they're about to take it down. Watch it disappear, and the people reappear.
2, 1. Thank you. That's it. We had a brief power loss there a couple of minutes ago, by the way, but all is well again now. Had to be the biggest card trick of all time.
That's one
entire stadium. Yeah.
Always going to remember. They took a computer, and from those aerial photographs, they identified every single seat in this stadium, and under they put the correct card, so that that enormous, personal, direct tribute to the 140 nations of this Olympiad could be represented.
Flags of nations, of course, flying on top of the Coliseum. Now we're going to have the Antwerp flag exchange. This began at the Antwerp Olympics in 1920 in Belgium. The flags that was used there, made of silk. Traditionally, since then, the mayor of the city that had the last games presents it to the mayor of the city about to play host. Moscow is not represented here today. And so we're going to have two American athletes who participated in the 1920 games, Eileen Riggin Soule and Alice Lord Landon. Eileen Riggin was the youngest
United States
American athlete ever, and she won the gold medal in diving. This is Alice Lord Landon now, because you'll see Eileen Riggin. Eileen, the smaller of the two, only 4 feet 8. That is Alexander de Merode of Belgium. He's going to do it since Moscow isn't here.
Is His Excellency Mr. Girardou Nguyen, first Vice President of the International Olympic Committee.
What a thrill for Eileen Riggin Soule and Alice Lord Landon. 64 years after they represented their country in diving in the Olympics, back in the stadium again.
This begins the very traditional portion of the modern games. It's always the same, with fractional variations in every city that one of the Olympic Games is held.
Eileen Riggin Soule,
wearing very much the same period costumes they wore when they competed on the U.S. team in 1920.
I think they are actually their costumes, Peter.
They've kept their figures very well.
Yes, they have. The flag will first be handed to Juan Antonio Samaranch, the president of the International Olympic Committee.
He's come to be known to all of us over the years in preparations for this game as Antonio Samaranch. He reminded us just the other day that he actually prefers Samaran.
We'll drop the CH instantly.
The flag is now presented to His Excellency Mr. Juan Antonio Samaranch.
And now
President of the
to Tom
International
Bradley,
Olympic
the
Committee.
mayor of Los Angeles.
On behalf of the city of Los Angeles, Mayor
Tom Bradley had to sneak in to see the 32 Olympics. He was a 14-year-old kid, and he hopped over the fence, and he made it. And now he accepts the flag. Mayor of Los Angeles, age 66.
Los Angeles Olympic Organizing
Now,
Committee.
to Paul Ziffrin, you saw Paul Ziffrin, who is the chairman of the committee.
Flag exchange has taken
There, Paul Ziffrin.
and may it fly
That's Harry Usher there.
during
Paul
the
Ziffrin with the white-haired gentleman, Harry Usher, the last man to take the flag. Representing the Los Angeles Olympic Organizing Committee. At other Olympics, this was done after the raising of the official Olympic flag, but this time it has been reversed. And I think dramatically it plays better this way. Harry Usher, whom you saw, of course, the assistant to the president of the LAOOC, Peter Uberot.
Ladies and gentlemen, to conduct the new American Olympic Orchestra in his original composition,
A wide view just of a portion of the crowd. Here is
Mr.
John Williams, well-known composer. He's won Oscars and 14 Grammys, and gold and platinum records, Jaws, Star Wars, Close Encounters, Superman, E.T., Return of the Jedi, and unfortunately about to leave the Boston Pops.
Yeah, because they didn't like to play much popular music as he wanted to. This is the Los Angeles Olympic theme.
You'll be hearing this at all the medal award ceremonies through the game. Composed by John Williams. Here are the Tall Flag Girls. There are groups around the country known as Tall Flag Girls. These are the representatives of those groups. They were told just on Tuesday of this week that they could keep these flags. And it's a measure of the emotion that's been felt here as they prepared, that many of them cried when they were told that they could take them home with them.
John Williams has dedicated this theme to all the athletes. He says he gets as much inspiration from them as clearly so many people get from his music.
Soon we'll have the march into the stadium by the athletes of the world, 140 nations strong. Almost 8,000 of them. And then the flame. Still a closely guarded secret as to who will illuminate the flame that will burn through the game. We don't know. Why he wrote it. John Williams said, the human spirit soars and we strive for the best within us. These are the qualities which we seek to capture, describe, and preserve through music. It's in my honor to contribute this fanfare and theme to the Olympics. Dedicated lovingly to all the participating athletes. So spoke this man, John Williams. He wrote it.
The Los Angeles Olympic theme. In a moment, the athletes.
I've never been. Much of the flag waving.
Hey, Mike, you gonna be there? Yeah.
Maybe.
And now the anticipation grows. We're back at
Ladies
the Olympics,
and gentlemen,
awaiting the athletes. The reason we're all here.
presenting the athletes of the games of the 23rd Olympiad.
Parade of athletes first introduced at the opening ceremony of the London Games in 1908. Each flag of the same size that's specified. First, as always, will be Greece.
Charter member of the International Olympic Committee, only one of 4 countries, right, Jim? At the first modern
That's right.
Games. And there it is, that striking blue and white flag of Greece that's become so familiar.
Yes, you're right, Peter. Only 4 countries have participated in all the Summer Olympics. Great Britain, Australia, Greece, and Switzerland. We, of course, missed 4 years ago. Their flag bearers, Stylianos Nijakis, who won a 1980 gold medal at Moscow in featherweight Greco-Roman wrestling. There he is. Of course, the first gold medal, Peter, was won by, as we all know, Spiridon Lewis, a Greek. First marathon gold medal in 1896. They haven't won a track gold medal since. They're always here.
Of course, a lot of argument, Jim, that the game should go back to Greece on a permanent basis. Algeria, much more friendly to the United States now, of course, since Algeria played such an effective role mediating the hostage crisis when the Americans were trapped in Iraq.
One athlete waving a little American flag. So. There he is, Mustafa Musa, a boxer, carrying the Algerian flag.
Andorra.
They don't like it, but in all honesty, they really are a postage stamp country, and they make a lot of money from stamps. High in the Pyrenees, bordered by Spain in the south and France in the north. They make their money from tourism and sheep raising, and there's a great sheep herder's hat.
Half the size of New York City is Andorra. You've been up there, haven't you?
Indeed. Antigua, discovered by Christopher Columbus, 1493.
They've never won an Olympic gold medal, but there's Lester Benjamin, a long jumper, 4x100 relay.
Argentina.
And the 4x400 he'll be in. A large delegation now from Argentina, 87 athletes.
So many of these nations, Jim, remind us of their recent past. Argentina got so much attention from us during the war with Britain over the Falkland Islands, or the Malvinas, as the Argentinians like to call them. Country in great financial difficulty. There was some question as to whether or not this large team would be able to come.
They're expected to be competitive here in men's field hockey and volleyball. Volleyball is going to be a very exciting sport, I think, here.
I remember in '72, Jim, at Munich, when we discovered volleyball really for the first time. It has become a great sport now, which the Americans are supposed to do very well.
Although invented in Holyoke, Mass, a long time ago. Australia.
Another charter member of the Olympic Committee, and boy, do they look typical. There's one of the little koala bears.
There's their proud flag being carried by Wayne Roycroft, an equestrian. Equestrian event to be held here at the famous Santa Anita racetrack.
Australia, of course, hosted the 1956 games at Melbourne.
An Australian will be the favorite in the marathon, Rob DeCastella, the world champion. There he is. Rob DeCastella. Deep, they call him. There he is in the Rotterdam Marathon. Of course, Alberto Salazar of the United States is also expected to be very competitive in that event. It'll be the climax of these games being run on Sunday, just before the closing ceremony. And, of course, for the first time, it will be a women's marathon. Better known in the Winter Games is Austria, although at Sarajevo they had a tough time. Only a bronze in the men's giant slalom. Remember Anton Steiner?
Crossroads of Europe.
Yep. Power outage that we had briefly here, we understand now, is all over the city. The LA Times doesn't have any power. The press center.
The LA Times, by the way, which has put out a very effective Olympic edition every day. And they've been going crazy in the press room at the moment. The Bahamas, all 700 islands represented here today. When Christopher Columbus first came to the New World, that's where he first set foot, on the Bahamas.
It might surprise you that they have won Olympic medals, a gold and a bronze, both in star-class yachting. There's a gentleman from the Bahamas. There is their flag carrier, Bradley Cooper. Some with their little personal flags. Well, Peter, Bahrain, you know that area very well.
Bahrain and the Persian Gulf, and there they are in their wonderful traditional outfits. It's one of the freest, most relaxed places, Jim, in all of the Persian Gulf, and has one of those very attractive flags. When we get to Qatar later on, you'll see the flag is reversed. Flat, sandy, built on oil, no trouble with the heat in Los Angeles.
A form of government, a traditional empire, is that right?
That is indeed right. Monarchy.
Bangladesh.
Bangladesh, which was once East Pakistan. That is their flag, the rising sun. Joy Bangla, they say. Joy to Bangladesh. I must confess, Jim, I was there when that nation was born.
And that, carrying the flag, is their only athlete. A one-man team. Now Barbados.
One very active supporter of the United States, of course, when it came to the invasion or the rescue mission, as some people call it, of Grenada. Very important member of the Association of Eastern Caribbean Nations now, and very strongly supportive of the United States action down there.
Belgium, which hosted the 1920 Olympic Games in Antwerp, slightly larger than the state of Maryland.
But
not that big
has a lot there. Headquarters of the European Common Market, and also the Supreme Allied Headquarters in Europe.
Belgium marching in. Many more countries to come. Stay with us.
California, the #1 gasoline market in the country.
Just south of Mexico and east of Guatemala lies the little nation of Belize.
Founded by buccaneers, Jim. The last British colony on the American mainland to get its independence in 1981.
And now Benin.
A lot of people will remember it as Dahomey until the name changed back in 1975. It's on the west coast of Africa, on the Atlantic Ocean. Look at those wonderful costumes. Not a terribly happy state. It's essentially a one-party military dictatorship.
Bermuda. What would you expect them to be wearing? Well, of course, Bermuda short, as always. 600 miles out in the Atlantic Ocean, east of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. Bhutan.
Bhutan, a closed kingdom, Jim, until not too very long ago.
Their first Olympics. Excuse me.
Not at all. One of the very most beautiful, mysterious kingdoms up in the Himalayas.
Known as the land of the Thunder Dragon. Bolivia. They weren't going to come. They had a battle with Tony Kornheiser, who happens to be a sports writer in Washington. He wrote something they didn't like, and for a while they said, we're not coming. It finally was made up when he apologized.
Botswana, first inhabited by the Bushmen. Very rich nation, full of gold, as Brazil is rich in coffee, the largest coffee growers in the world. In fact, back in the 32 games, they planned to make their way here by selling coffee along the way. And they didn't sell enough coffee to come to the games, and their ships had to set offshore, off Los Angeles, waiting to transport their athletes home, only a few of whom competed in the 32 games.
And they still got an awful lot of coffee in Brazil, and tremendous enthusiasm. I remember being at the Pan American Games in 1963, Peter, when they chanted from the beginning of the basketball game to the end, including halftime, Brazil, Brazil, with the drum, you know.
We sometimes forget it's bigger than the United States.
They have a medal chance. Swimmer Ricardo Prado, who trains in Dallas, by the way. British Virgin Islands.
British Virgin Islands, of course, administered by Britain. It's a territory in the Caribbean. This is their first Summer Olympics. So Jim will recall they competed in Sarajevo.
With the first black speed skater in the history of the Olympics, Earl Fraser. Burma.
Once again, one of those societies which was very closed until recently. There is a wonderful article for those of you who get it in this edition of the National Geographic on Burma. Cameroon. Been a very sad year for them.
Cameroon.
West Africa again, just south of Nigeria. Portuguese were the first settlers there, and you see the influence and the ease of relations with which foreigners are treated in Cameroon.
Sure, you remember this music from the Montreal Olympics, Peter.
That's right.
Great, great music. Cameroon, by the way, has won an Olympic medal. Joseph Basala won a silver in welterweight boxing, 1968. Live from the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, it's the March of the Athletes, the opening ceremony of the Games of the 23rd Olympiad. With Peter Jennings, this is Jim McKay reporting, and now Canada.
Yeah, very sentimental welcome, I think, Jim, because of the games that were held there. It's rather sad. Montreal's still in debt as a result, dare we say it, of mismanagement of those games. They've got a bigger debt today still from those games than Los Angeles spent to get these games underway.
Canada with 479 athletes entered in these games. Carrying the flag, Alex Bowman, a swimmer, world record holder in both the 200 and 400 individual medleys. He was born in Czechoslovakia, Prague. Family left there in 1968.
Mark Spitz tells me just before we went on the air today, he has a real chance for the gold medal, Bowman.
He does. Reminiscent of Otto and Maria Jelinek, the great figure skaters who fled Czechoslovakia with their family and later won a world championship.
Big, big delegation. Canada, of course, has a new prime minister now, John Turner, who's called that country to elections in September. Her Majesty the Queen will be going there in September.
If you want to know about patriotism, both Alex Baldwin, of whom we spoke, and Victor Davis, another top swimmer, have the maple leaf tattooed on their chests.
But they never take up hockey.
Willie DeWitt, their heavyweight boxer's good, too.
The Cayman Islands. You never think that Christopher Columbus wasn't a busy fellow. He also discovered the Cayman Islands in 1503. 3 islands make up the Cayman Islands. They have never won an Olympic medal. But they come anyway, and that is one of the important things about the Games this year. And this year, for the first time, 75 of the countries which have never won a medal, some of them able to come this year because the International Olympic Committee has paid for nations unable to pay. 4 nations have come as guests of the IOC, so they could come.
Bearing the flag for Central Africa, André-Marie Savée, a boxer. Chad now.
An example of a nation in very much trouble by war. Libya supporting forces in the north, the French supporting forces in the south, and still they managed to break away these athletes to come and participate in the Olympic Games, which says something, surely, about the importance of this universality for athletes.
We're just to the seas. Chile. They have a good soccer team.
And they are waiting in Chile, of course, for democracy. Elections put off once again. Used to be one of the most stable democracies. Now, albeit a charter member of the International Olympic Committee.
We once covered the World Championship of Alpine Skiing down there in the summertime. That was a different experience, our summertime. And now, for the first time in large numbers, the People's Republic of China. They sent one athlete in 1952. They have not been here since. Listen to the reception from the people of Los Angeles. Large Chinese community in this city, of course. But it's everyone, many of them on their feet now. In 1932, there was one sprinter here from China. He didn't get through the heat. Flag bearer there, Liu Chen-chun, was selected because they told us, he was tall. Logic.
It's amazing as China reaches out into the world more progressively. It's already considering a bid to host the Olympic Games in the year 2000. Peking, or Beijing, as the Chinese prefers to call it,
Their team,
the host city.
231 strong, and this is no token entry in any way. They have fine athletes in diving and in gymnastics. They may be the dominant power. Also, they have the world record holder in the high jump. Interestingly, all of their most prominent athletes have something to do with acrobatics, an ancient Chinese sport. So that neither the gymnast nor the high jumper are marching today, resting for their performances in the games. We'll return with more of the opening ceremonies of the Games of the 23rd Olympiad after this ABC News brief. There is Columbia marching in the opening parade at the opening of the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. We're now told that the power failure, which has affected many parts of the city, was caused, confirmed by the power company here, by the balloons that rose from the stadium at the opening of these ceremonies, hitting some power lines. You can't provide for everything.
The traditional costume being worn by the leader of the Congo, Costa Rica again. The only country in Central America without a standing army, feeling very nervous about what is going on in Central America at the moment.
That's remarkable. They have no army at all. Cyprus.
Sadly divided island, Jim, of course, between the Greeks and the Turks. Flashpoint in the Eastern Mediterranean.
Now Denmark, noted for its yachtsmen.
It's the southernmost, of course, of the Scandinavian countries, occupied by the Germans in World War II. Has among its population the most prosperous small farmers in all of Europe.
Djibouti.
Former French colony Djibouti has a staggering unemployment rate of 80%.
Now the Dominican Republic from the Caribbean.
Ecuador.
They're going to be good in baseball.
Law in association with the United States, of course, U.S. forces occupied the Dominican Republic in 1916 and again in 1965.
Now Ecuador.
The conquistadores stopped in Ecuador, Jim. They didn't find enough riches, so they simply moved on.
You know, it was supposed to be a weightlifter carrying that flag, but I don't believe that was Hector Hurtado. It was an attractive young lady.
Egypt.
They changed at the last minute. That happens in the Olympics. The Arab Republic of Egypt. Fine reception for them.
Perhaps over the last decade, the most popular Arab nation in the United States, largely because of Anwar Sadat, because of its participation in the Camp David agreements, which helped in the minds of some people to move peace a fraction closer in the Middle East. Very warm reception from this crowd.
They've won 15 Olympic medals, but only one since 1952. Hasn't been too powerful lately. They were not in Moscow 4 years ago. El Salvador.
What can you say about El Salvador at the moment, Jim, except that it is proof positive that the Olympic Games, for a moment at least, appear to transcend in this public eye the tragedy of El Salvador felt by all parties.
They were reinstated by the IOC last year after a short suspension for failure to pay their dues. Bad country in so many ways.
Equatorial Guinea.
A wide view now of the stadium. You can see the countries who are already formed in the infield there. That entire infield will be filled. Well, tell me about Equatorial Guinea, please, Peter.
What can I tell you, Jim? It was discovered by the Portuguese. It's terribly poor. They only became an IOC member this year off the coast of Africa. Fiji, the South Pacific, northeast of Australia.
Look at the man carrying the banner. That's Gideone Takayawa, a judo expert. What a fierce costume.
Polynesians, Jim, as you see in this costume, are now really almost outnumbered in Fiji by the Indian population, who were brought there to settle as indentured workers by the British.
What a wonderful Olympic record Finland has. This small country in the far north, not only in the Winter Olympic Games, but in the Summer Games with the great distance runners like Paavo Nurmi, Lassi Viren, Hannes Kolomainen, all through the years.
And of course, as we said earlier on, very popular television at the moment because that's the way the Soviets are going to be able to see the games.
Here are the French. And what color do you think they would be wearing? Blue. Flag bearer, Angelo Parisi. One of the few people to win a medal for two different countries. He was born in Italy, moved to Britain with his parents when he was young, and competed for Britain at Munich 12 years ago, won a bronze in judo, later married a French woman, changed his citizenship, and in 1980 won a gold medal for France in the heavyweight judo category. He's been around. There you see some of their challenges. Two great pole vaulters who have not been into their best form recently might regain it here at the Olympics.
Here's the small Gabon delegation. Central African nation. The equator runs right through the middle.
That's Gambia. A female shot putter carrying that flag. Lady named Odette Kassour, as we saw. Gambia.
Do I recall correctly, I may get it wrong if somebody will correct me, is Gambia not where Alex Haley's roots are?
I think I wouldn't swear to it either. But I'll back you up.
Thank you very much.
Carrying the flag, Omar Fay, a 100 and 200 meter runner. Federal Republic of Germany. They'll win a lot of medals here.
Another rich reception.
443 athletes have come across the Atlantic and all the way to the shores of the Pacific. Mikhail Gross will be their great swimmer carrying the flag. Vili Kuvaida, a yachtsman. A lot of yachtsmen seem to be carrying flags here. I don't know why that is. Just coincidence, I would suppose.
It also reminds us, Jim, that the sad factor of this game that East Germany is not here. These two powerful sports rivals. Only one represented because of the Soviet decision in its Warsaw Pact allies not to come.
Jürgen Hingsen, whose name you see there, the decathlete, is expected to be in a two-man battle with Daley Thompson of Great Britain for that unofficial title of the world's greatest all-round athlete. Huge team. Mikhail Gross, we mentioned, the swimmer who might win 4 gold medals here. Ulrika Meifart, who 12 years ago in Munich, remember, Peter, at the age of 16, won the high jump. She's back again. Ghana, where a lady from this city, one Shirley Temple Black, was once the ambassador.
That's right, she was. Put Ghana on the map in some ways, though it's a wonderful country known for its high life, as they call it. It's wonderful late-night dancing revelry. Look at the wonderful customs.
Great Britain.
Now, the British. Oh, listen to this. 362 athletes.
No shortage of supporters for the British in Los Angeles. I tell you, they've even got a handful of cricket teams here. A great expatriate British community here, mostly connected with Hollywood.
Also, among the Hollywood colony, they're a very strong lawn bowling group.
Yeah. I'll wait till I see it on Wide World of Sports, Jim.
I think Sir C. Aubrey Smith was instrumental in that in the 30s. Remember him? There you see some of their potential medalists, familiar names. Steve Ovett, Sebastian Coe, Steve Cram, Daley Thompson, we've mentioned, the decathlete.
Daley Thompson, of course, a lot of Americans didn't get to see because of the boycott of the Olympics, or didn't perhaps focus on him so much. He is an absolutely magnificent athlete who was the toast of Britain for an entire year.
We'll also be looking for Zola Budd, the young girl from South Africa, who recently became a British citizen. She's not in the parade today. Normally runs in her bare feet, and everybody's wondering whether she's going to run in her bare feet in the Olympics or not. Grenada.
It was only last Tuesday, really, that the Grenadians found out that they could come to these games because some people or a group of people, unidentified, sent them enough money, $23,000, for them to come and participate in these games. Grenada, followed by Guatemala, the largest country in Central America. We'll be back in just a moment. I'm Peter Jennings for
We're at the splendid opening ceremony of the games of the 23rd Olympiad in the Memorial Coliseum in Los Angeles. It's all live, of course, as the athletes continue to march in and fill up the center of the playing surface.
And with the arrival of the Hong Kong delegation, a reminder that the International Olympic Charter recognizes territories and possessions and allows them to have their own Olympic committees and their own teams. Hong Kong, presently administered by the British, but which will revert to China in 1997.
48 athletes, quite a large delegation for a very small place. Now, Iceland.
You don't like the weather in Iceland? Wait 15 minutes.
They have, in fact, won an Olympic medal, the triple jump silver of this Hjalmar Einarsson in 1956. And interestingly, the son of Hjalmar Einarsson is carrying the flag. There he is. He's a javelin thrower who would love to emulate his father and win an Olympic medal.
I remember arriving in Reykjavik one day, Jim, and asking them to take me to the most important thing on the island, and they took me to the National Library, one of the most literate nations I've ever been in. India, proving again that in the midst of tension, an enormous Indian community here in Los Angeles.
More diversity in the city of Los Angeles now than any city in America.
Indonesia.
Field hockey, a traditional, powerful sport for India, by the way. Indonesia.
3,000 islands, to be specific, largely Muslim nation. Unprecedented degree of prosperity being enjoyed in that nation at the moment.
Iraq. Now, Iraq. Iran is not here. Iraq did come.
But Iran did not stay away as a result of the Soviet boycott, we should hasten to add.
Right?
Ireland.
Now the Irish. Plenty of them in Los Angeles, too.
Plenty of them everywhere.
Carrying the flag, Captain Jerry Mullins, an equestrian. There he is, proudly carrying the flag of the Republic of Eire. Captain in the Irish Army. Eamon Coughlin, their great middle distance runner, sadly was not able to make these games. He had an injury just a very short time before the games themselves. He had finished fourth in the last two Olympics and hoped for the gold here, or at least the medal. It will not be. Neither Ireland nor Northern Ireland has a nationally recognized Olympic committee, so they compete together here. Something of a surprise. The Israelis.
There was quite a lot of sentiment here, Jim, for having a moment of silence at these games because of the dreadful memories we all have of Israelis at the 72 Olympics. But the International Olympic Committee basically said it wanted no political and national statement here. The Israelis themselves held a ceremony Thursday night in honor of the 11 athletes who were killed at Munich.
They're hoping to win their first Olympic medal here. Best hope is in the 470 class of yachting. 33 athletes on their team.
Italy.
Should be another big cheer right now. Italy. Sarah Simeone carrying the flag, given the high jump gold 4 years ago. Interesting, this young woman switched to high jumping as a teenager because she was told her feet were too big for ballet, her first love. Didn't let it stop her. She found something else. Among their athletes, great sprinter Pietro Minea, back for his 4th Olympics. And when this tones down a bit, it's a story worth telling. Let's watch and listen.
It may not tone down. It's deafening in the stadium.
This man competed in the 1964 Olympics, and he's made the team again this time. The moment the 88,000 and more have been waiting for. Team of 615. Edwin Moses, he'll take the oath very shortly for the athletes of the world. Largest U.S. team ever. Look at Edwin Moses, who's won more than 100 races in a row when you count heats. He'd like to win a couple more heats and one more final.
Well, there was a lot of controversy about these uniforms, Jim. I know people had a lot of opportunity to choose in department stores all across the country. Some people thought this was too casual. I must confess I like it.
Julianne McNamara in gymnastics. And she'll be very prominent in gymnastics, a potential medalist at these games.
Something that everybody in this booth has suddenly picked up their cameras.
There is Ed Burton again carrying the flag. Peter, back in the early 60s, he was competing in a meet. His wife was waiting in the car off to the side of the field. The hammer throw, unbelievably, went wild, went through the windshield and hit his wife. She was in a hospital for many months. He gave up the sport, said he'd never do it again. It was she who made him come back into hammer throwing and compete at Tokyo in 1964. He gave it up again, and just a couple of years ago, it was she who made him watch television one day and then take his daughters out. He said, they've never seen you throw the hammer. Just do it for them. And he said, believe me, I had a vision when I came back from doing that of myself marching in the opening parade in Los Angeles in 1984. He's carrying the flag. Just cut that out.
This delegation doesn't quit. It's the longest. It now extends all the way down one side of the stadium. Largest team here by far.
Charles Kuralt, star of the American volleyball team. They will be gold medal contenders. Moses again. He could win 4 gold medals. Already calling him the new Jesse Owens. Look at Lewis in action. Can he win those 4 golds? He's the kind of a young man that rises to an occasion. A bit of the ham in him, if you will. He'll have plenty of opportunity.
I was going to say, if he wants to be a broadcaster, he better have a little ham.
That's right. They're all here. 140 nations ready for the start of the Olympic Games tomorrow.
By any means, but it is perhaps a time to say what they've been thinking here in Los Angeles all this time, that they were going to set opening ceremonies up on the wall and let the rest of the world shoot at it. They are doing wonderfully.
At this moment, I would think perhaps that many of the people here would have to be reminded that the Soviet Union is not here. The warm feeling that they hope to convey, certainly from our point of view, is here. Pride in yourself, pride in your country. There it is. And the chant has begun. USA, USA. Perhaps you can hear it. Remember that in Lake Placid?
What a kick for all the volunteers here, too. Again, reminder that the Los Angeles Olympic Organizing Committee is overwhelmingly volunteers. 50 years ago, there were 70 people on the committee. What is it, a total of 70,000 people?
Yeah, 75,000 people.
Who help, and you keep running into people all over the place who come to help make this moment. These games, which were begun with $100 in a bank account, put there out of the pocket of Peter Ueberroth himself.
Michael Jordan, the great basketball star from the University of North Carolina. Who said L.A. was too laid back? The enthusiasm here is just fantastic.
Well, in some ways, it's a difficult town to hold an Olympics because there's no there, as they say, and there's no one core where you really feel the Olympic spirit alive. But here it is this afternoon. You can't miss it.
Pat Ewing is injured, and there's some question as to how well he's prepared for the Olympic Games right now. And Perkins,
ladies and gentlemen,
great basketball stars from the United States,
are the finest athletes in the world, the competitors in the games of the 23rd Olympiad.
And now a cheer for all of them. Almost 8,000 competitors in these Olympic Games. Past 7 of a California evening. Stadium almost completely in shadow now. And there is a great deal more to come. Remember,
23rd Olympiad will begin. We at the Los Angeles Committee had a new idea. An idea to carry the flame on the longest route in the history of the Olympics.
Great stone. Great American high jumper. We'll be in the games again.
It began in the great and wonderful city of New York and went across this country to this historic site of the 1932 Olympic Games. Rather than go on a straight line, we thought it best to wander up and down and crisscross across our country through most major cities and most small communities. The success of this torch run has exceeded our fondest dreams. Millions and millions and millions of our fellow Americans stood by along the roadsides, cheering the runners, and thereby becoming part of the Olympic movement. These Americans had two messages to give to the world. The first is an enormous rekindling of pride in our own country, the United States of America.
The eyes are glistening, aren't they?
And more importantly, these millions and millions of people turned out along the way to express a friendship and a love and a caring for all nations of the world. It was an outpouring of pride and love that was demonstrated by a people toward an idea that through sport we can take an important step toward world peace and understanding. As these games are about to begin, we must thank the thousands upon thousands of people in Southern California who have dedicated years of their lives to this Games, and especially during the next 2 weeks, they will dedicate their lives to make these a great Games for the athletes of the world. For you see, that's clearly our goal. We wish no political statement. We wish only to show hospitality and friendship, and through these efforts, make a better world if we can.
36 years old, president of the LAOC, who will become the commissioner of baseball right after these games are concluded. One tough job to another.
It's now my honor to introduce His Excellency, Mr. Juan Antonio Samaran, President of the International Olympic Committee, to whom I extend the warmest welcome.
Juan Antonio Samaran, 64 years old, from Barcelona, Spain, has visited literally hundreds of countries since he took over this job. He'll be introducing next President Reagan, who will say only 16
Here
or
we
17
are,
words.
once again in Los Angeles, where 52 years ago we celebrated the games of the 10th Olympiad. Today, however, our family is much larger. A record score of 140 national Olympic committees are taking part in these games. We are proud to say that a great many of the finest youth in the world are present with us in this historic Coliseum. May I extend a warm welcome to all the athletes and officials. I am sure that they will compete and participate in the true Olympic spirit of cooperation, understanding, and friendship without any political influence. Nevertheless, our thoughts also go to those athletes who have not been able to join us. On behalf of the Olympic movement, I should like to thank the city of Los Angeles, el pueblo de Nuestra Señora, la Reina de Los Ángeles, as it was originally called, the state of California, and the entire nation for receiving us with open arms. Our gratitude must also go to the organizing committee, and particularly to its chairman Paul Sifrin, President Peter Uberoth, and to the more
who has had some tough times in getting these Olympics organized. But it's done, and here we are. Great golfer, by the way. Plays in the Bing Crosby tournament just about every year when he has time.
And also to the more than 50,000 volunteers who are giving so much for the success of these games.
Hear to that. The tremendous number of volunteers who have given their time not for a day or a month, but for years.
Finally, I have the high honor to invite the President of the United States of America, President Ronald Reagan, to proclaim the games of the 23rd Olympiad in Los Angeles open. God bless America.
words by the Olympic Charter. Celebrating the 23rd Olympiad of the modern era, I declare open the Olympic Games of Los Angeles. Well, change the words around just a little bit from the prescribed script, but the games are opened by President Reagan. The first American president, there's Joan Benoit, the great American marathoner, the first American president ever to open the games for a number of reasons. In 1904, for example, there was no opening ceremony. Now the Olympic hymn. Former U.S. Olympians and the grandchildren of two other medalists.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the entrance of the Olympic flag. The flag is escorted by a group of distinguished Americans. Bruce Jenner, gold medalist decathlon. Wyoming Pryor, gold and silver medalist track and field. Terry O'Brien, gold and silver medalist shot put.
Harry O'Brien.
John Neighbor, gold and silver medalist swimming. Sammy Lee, gold medalist platform and springboard diving.
Dr. Sammy Lee carried the torch through the streets last night. Pat McCormick.
Platform and springboard diving.
Her daughter's a favorite in diving this year.
Member of the 1980 Olympic team and bantamweight champion of the world. Al Porter, gold medalist discus.
4-time gold medalist.
Silver medalist track and field.
Mac Robinson, elder brother of the great Jackie Robinson.
Gold medalist, track and field. And Bill Thorpe, Jr., grandson of medalist Jim Thorpe.
There they are, great American Olympians carrying the flag, raising it high for everyone to see. What a day for Pat McCormick, two-time Olympic gold medalist, now back in the stadium again and anticipating the performance of her daughter, a favorite in diving this year. Some of the words of this hymn written by Spiro Samaro way back when. Let splendor pervade each noble deed, crowned with glory and fame. And let fraternity and fellowship surround the soul of every nation. Flame eternal in your firmament so bright, illuminate us with your everlasting light. With grace and beauty, shine like the sun, blazing above. Bestow on us the wondrous prize of honor, truth, and love. The lyrics changed specifically for this opening ceremony, by the way, by Earl Brown, man who's done vocal arrangements for a whole host of variety shows and things out here. The Olympic choir, 1,100 strong, singing the Olympic hymn. 3 men at the foot of the flagpole, just very good at raising flags. That's why they're there. Their names for the Olympic record are Ty Witt, Luis Rodriguez, and Frank Canada. both ends of this great arena. 2,500 homing pigeons. They have said they hoped that they would momentarily block out the sun. Well, not quite that. But there they go. And by the way, they are now engaged in a race to their home nests. Came to the place just in time. Now he will not go completely to the plane. That's impossible. He can't get up there. But the way the plane gets to the top is fascinating. He'll touch it to what looks like a decorator's rain spout there. Then the plane will go around the Olympic ring and up to the receptacle. The sun's still shining on it. Maybe a little hard to see. There it goes. Now it's climbing around the ring. Can you see it there? They say the sun makes a difference. Over there, you can see it. Around the 5 Olympic rings, then up the spout again. And it will climb to the receptacle at the top for the first time in 52 years. The Olympic plane over Los Angeles, and it's now alight. Black ever to light the Olympic flame. The great American, Rayford Johnson. The Olympian, composed by Philip Glass. All of the music composed by Americans. And so the Olympic flame is alight.
Will the athletes
but it
please take
is
their
not yet
positions
over.
behind
The
their
oaths
blockers
coming up
there,
next.
And please clear the podium.
The opening ceremony continues in Los Angeles.
We are champion. We grow and harvest trees.
We are honored at the 23rd opening of the Olympic Games to have President Reagan not only open the games but join us for a few minutes. Mr. President, back in 32, President Hoover thought it was a silly idea to come and open the games, and he didn't. How do you feel today?
Well, maybe the world has changed somewhat since then, and with the dangers and the disturbances between nations, and since the history of the Olympics is tied to peace and the ancient Greek city-states that designed these games for that purpose, I think it's very worthwhile for any head of state, and any head of state should feel honored to be able to participate in the opening of these games.
Did I hear a rumor earlier that you had said you'd never seen the spirit of America expressed so well as down